automation, and Internet of Things. All of these are shaping up to be future of industries, a future that requires skills. This is where FutureSkills of NASSCOM comes into play. FutureSkills is an industry-driven learning ecosystem that aims at transforming the nation to be future-ready with all the required skills and attributes. The platform was launched in 2018 by the Honorable Prime Minister. It was created to help the IT industry reskill its workforce, but it was quickly very clear that with every industry going through digital transformation, these skills would be crucial for them too. This is how FutureSkills Prime was born, a digital skilling platform for all Indian citizens over the age of 18.
FutureSkills Prime equips the Indian citizens with emerging technologies to help them remain relevant for the future. With learner-friendly features, the platform is catered to propel your professional growth. It brings together industry experts to ensure that you learn from the best. Meticulously curated content to facilitate easy learning. And the transition from digital fluency to certification is extremely smooth. A wide gamut of courses offered so that you get to choose what works the best for you.
FutureSkills Prime have transformed the way nation upskills. Building a skilling ecosystem to this scale with this level of adoption is a massive achievement in itself. And as the future gets a step closer to a fully digital one, preparing for it with relevant skills is the right step for employees across the nation. With affordability and credibility as its core values, we strive to build India's digital talent stack. And we plan on delivering on this promise by integrating innovative approaches and deep expertise to deliver tangible and sustainable results, preparing the nation today for tomorrow.
With over 4 lakh sign-ups already, our journey at FutureSkills Prime has been one of constant growth. Now it's your turn to be a part. Download the FutureSkills Prime app now to scale new professional heights.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Career Mantra session on crafting purposeful careers. My name is Amrita from FutureSkills Prime team, and I'm extremely excited to be part of this session. FutureSkills Prime is the national digital skilling platform which has now empowered over 500,000 learners. Before we start, here's how you can talk to us. Please type in your questions in the Q&A tab. I will also be picking up questions from the YouTube live stream as well. Today, we have with us two eminent speakers, Ms. Saba Alam and Mr. Rajan Kalia. Ms. Saba Alam is a partner at the Leadership Marvels who's working at the confluence of data, processes, and people within the human resource and talent acquisition functions. She has over 10 years of experience and brings to us her great knowledge and experience in the field. Mr. Rajan Kalia, co-founder Salto D Consulting, has over 29 years of rich and varied experience in human resources and consulting. Both our speakers are working to connect the skilled learners with very important and final aspects of all learning goals, employment. Welcome, Saba and Rajan.
Thank you, Amrita.
Thank you, Amrita.
Hi, Rajan.
Hi.
Hi, welcome both of you once again. So while our speakers will take up the questions from our learner community in a fireside chat interactive format, I would like to pose the first questions to both of you. What is the difference between career design and job search? Can I even start with career design with my first job, or it's a luxury for something which is a little later in life and career? Sabha, may I ask you to start, please?
Sure. Career design is an ongoing journey, right? And in fact, that's something that I'd like to share a few thoughts on. So I'm sharing my screen and let me know if you guys can see it. Okay. Are you able to see it?
Yes, we can see. Thank you
presentation
so much.
mode?
Yes.
Just one slide, really nothing much, but I think it will be helpful to help us, think through what is career design before we get more into the theme today. And essentially, it is just proactive planning of your career path at its simplest. I think when someone starts their career design, it's all about first understanding who am I, what am I doing, what are my qualities till now, what are the knowledge and skills I have, and what are the limitations, right? So we all have our boundary conditions. I would love to be astronaut in NASA, but I have my own limitations on why I cannot be there. At the same time, it is important for us to explore our world around us and experience various things. So in design thinking, one of the things people say is that you should try out different things, 4-5 ideas before you then click on one. And so at every stage that you are, it's important to get your hands dirty in different projects, take up short courses, upskill yourself either on the job. Sometimes if you're already in a company, companies train you to upskill. If you're not in a company, take your own courses, do a lot of volunteering internally or pro bono work externally. But all in all, this is to help you understand what you like and what you don't like, so that then you know that, okay, what is the unique thing that I bring to the table to any employer or job. So you sort of create your unique value proposition. And then, of course, as your then next step is to identify which companies you want to go to. You should set up your profile, CV accordingly. Your social media presence on LinkedIn should be in line with that. As you go forward in your career journey, you need to continue to navigate your networks. And of course, like I said, it's a continuous journey. So upskilling is going to be a part of it. So that's where I think, what I think about just doing a job search versus a career design. And so one thing, and I'll pause share. So one thing which is important also to understand for us is that job search is one of the tasks probably under career design, but it is always going to be an ongoing journey, and you have to keep tweaking it as internal and external changes happen. You as a person change, your circumstances change, the world around you changes. So, but I'm sure Rajan has a much deeper insight into this.
Oh, thank you, Sabha. My views on this is that any career you need to design is based on what your strengths are, and it takes a little time for you to discover those, as you said. But that's the first step, to make sure that you're able to understand what are you really good at. So, to my mind, your career, or why should I pay you for doing something you do? So unless you are able to figure out why would people pay you for something which you want to do, and obviously there are companies who want your particular strengths in that organization, but keep that in mind. But in my mind, there are two dimensions to careers. One is the breadth. So how much you know about various aspects. So let's say you've gone and you've picked up a career of mechanical engineer. how much can you in breadth understand mechanical engineering? So can you understand it for automobile? Can you understand it for, some machines, etc., etc.? And then narrow down, or after understanding all of this, narrow down, where do you want to go to in depth? So for example, let's say you picked up that I want to go into automobiles. So how deeply you understand that? So careers are developed on both the breadth and the depth. Careers ultimately are a collection of various experiences which you have over a period of time. You need to figure out which experience do you want and which one do you want to let go of. So you have to curate your journey to say, okay, this is the particular experience I want to gather, I want to do. I want to work for an X company, or I want to understand this particular aspect. And there will always be many choices. So you'll have to say, okay, what will I let go of? So in making a choice, you'll have to let go of something. So you will let go of A, B, C, D, and you will pick up, F, G, H. Now, basis both those is what you will start designing. And as you rightly said, over a period of time, you will also discover that there are new aspects coming in. For example, right now, AI or data analytics, something or the other of that sort will play. There is no way you will be able to progress in your career without understanding some aspects of that. Now, whether you do, you work in HR, whether you work in engineering, whether you work in marketing, whether you work in, production, wherever you work, over a period of time now, it has become imperative that data will play a big role. So if someone were to ask me today, do you think I should keep that into my career design? I would say definitely. So my three points. The first point, career design is a collection of various experiences. You need to see the breadth which you want to collect and where do you want to go in deep. Are you the only person in the world who understands a particular subject or a particular aspect better than anybody else? Only then will people be willing to pay you for you to do their job. So it's like being an artist. If you made a painting, you sign it to say, hey, this is my sign on my painting, this is what I've done. Similarly, in your careers, you will have to be able to say in depth, when I understand certain aspects, perhaps it is only me who understands this better than anybody else in the world. So that's what my perspective on career design is. And obviously, upskilling, learning new things are part of being continuously upgrading yourself.
It's so interesting, Ranjan, and as you're saying this, I'm reflecting on my career. I started my career in finance, dabbled in marketing before I landed in HR. So I really had to let go because, I had studied commerce and MBA finance. So it seemed obvious that I should have a career in finance, but it didn't strike me. I didn't have the right skill set. And I was not, like you said, the best in my job in that industry that they would pay me the most. So really very insightful thought process. And I really love the way you explain, the breadth and the depth. So I'm sure it'll help our audience a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Rajan and Sabha. So I have a few questions here that we have got from our learners. See, both of you talked about impactful careers and how one builds in a different way. So one of the questions is, how do we choose an impactful organization for a career development? Do you think it's important to be, frankly, okay, let me put it this way. Would a first-time learner be in a position to say that I will choose an organization? Do you think that's something they should do? Or they should first see where they fit and then look for an organization which is impact and find a place in the organization where they can impact?
So a combination of two. So it's always important to have some targets. And hence it's important to, once you've identified your area of design and career path, it is important for us to look at, okay, who are the leaders and influencers in that domain look at their career journeys, look at which are the companies which are already leaders, which are the companies which are upcoming in that domain. So if you have identified an area which you want to specialize in and build your career in, you should also be well read about it. So as you're reading, you're also developing your opinion and thought and connects, right? So understand their path, connect to people and employees on their LinkedIn, get to know them better, read all about reviews about the companies, and so definitely have some target companies in mind. But at the same time, the reality is that in your vicinity, area, organization, study, wherever you're studying, you may have only certain companies which are coming for job placements, and or you may have got already a job out of the 10 places you applied, you've already got the job somewhere. So then it is about, okay, I've got here now, what next? But yes, you should have some view of, okay, what's happening in my industry and domain, and where do I want to be? Who do I want to choose, right? And it has to reflect with your personality and what you want to do. So at one point of time in my life, I had an option of joining the talent acquisition team of Google versus the talent acquisition team of LinkedIn. Now, I love the world of talent acquisition. And for me, it was important that I stay close to my core. So even though Google was another job, I found that being in LinkedIn would also take me ahead in my domain of knowledge, which I want to build. And hence I went and joined LinkedIn Corporation rather than Google. So though I was lucky to be in that choice, but that was not the choice I had at the first job. My first job was at a local company in Bhopal, because that was the option with my boundary conditions, and that was the best I could have done with it. But over there, I made sure I was the most in-demand person.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Rajan, your thoughts, maybe you could say how you see this.
Yeah, I think I agree with Sabha on this, that you pick up the job you get first.
Okay.
And then over a period of time, once you picked up a job, let's say your dream company is, as she's saying, LinkedIn or Google or wherever, you start working towards it. You may not get it as your first choice, but you need to make sure that if that's the destination you have, how do you now work at various places where Google hires from or LinkedIn hires from? And perhaps work in some of those organizations to work with whatever your dream company is. You know, when I was younger, the dream company used to be Hindustan Unilever Limited. Everybody wanted to work for HUL at once upon a time. And, not everybody would get in, but that used to be the dream company. And there were people who would move around and then get in into that organization. So my advice would be, pick up the job you can get, as Sabha is saying, and be damn good at it. Once you're damn good at it, there are other companies who would want you. And then you can move to another organization, which is your dream career. So it may not be a year. It may take you 3 or 4 years to land up in your job in the company where you want to really work. But if you get it as the first choice, nothing like it. If you're in your campus, even if it is not in the field which you are very good at. For example, I learned my lesson very quickly. When I was appearing for my campus interview, I had a choice whereby my company asked me, the company which was hiring me, that would you work in industrial relations? And when you're young and you are, very self-confident, you just say where you want to work. I said, no, I would not. And they rejected me. It was a full selection. I was like, it was the last question asked of me of the interview. And ultimately I worked in that company later, and I asked them, he said, yeah, I rejected you because you were very confined. Your thinking was very confined that this is the only job I'll do. We wanted people with a wide open mind at when they are young, rather than just be confined to certain things. So overall, I think as a young person, you may keep an open mind and work even in an organization which is maybe your dream organization, but may not be your dream job at that point in time.
So that is absolutely perfect, Rajan. I mean, that's a really good point of view. I mean, why would you always assume that you get to choose? maybe like, you can get there, not immediately, but you can work towards it, plan towards it, while keeping your mind open. Just to say that I'm crafting my way towards this does not mean I'll not do or think about anything else. That's like wonderful. That's a really key point. So that brings me to another question. I've seen people learn, they have their university degrees, everybody's got their college degrees, but that's not guaranteeing success. I've seen with degrees, somehow people with, very good degrees failing miserably in, practical life and career. They somehow can't seem to transition into the work life, so to speak. So do you think there are some skills which are very important that people need to pick up first, or which are universal through everything and not just limited to your textbook studies, so to speak? May I ask Rajan you to answer this one first, please?
Sure. I think I would say the most important aspect is your ability to work with people. That is the number one quality. It doesn't matter what degree you have. It doesn't matter which school you come from. It doesn't matter which engineering college you come from. Your ability to work with other people, whether it is your peers, your bosses, your subordinates, will determine whether you are successful or not, because that's the number one quality besides your own values. The value system you have and your ability to work with people. Now, you may think that, ability to work with people, that's just a passe. If I know something, I will do it. No, you are not. You are just a catalyst over a period of time, especially when you come into leadership position. You are not doing the job yourself. Other people are doing the job for you. Your ability to motivate, engage, and make sure that the other people understand what you want them to do and deliver, not once, over and over and over and over again, is the most important quality from my perspective. Besides, having your degrees. Degrees are just a door opener.
Yeah. And in fact, it's these softer skills, Amrita. So communication skills, listening skills, ability to take feedback and act on it rather than take it personally. I think these small things actually help groom you better. It's like everybody is able to give you a piece of, yourself, which makes you a bigger whole. So I think in addition to, of course, working with people, as Rajan said, that's of course the most critical, because you're managing stakeholders, senior, junior, across borders, people you've never met in person, only on email. So yeah, but then of course the ability to listen, understand what's being said without having our own assumptions, communicating well, and taking feedback.
People skills are the key skills. So
the soft
yes,
skills
we
then.
we're specifically seeing this in the tech industry. People with technical skills are doing their job really well, but if it does not translate into somebody else being able to understand, or you're being able to relate or convey your ideas, it kind of loses its point. Thank you so much both for that. So the next question is that I have from one of the learners. I think actually this is my question also. What can I do to set myself apart from rest of the candidates? So Sabha, this one's for you specifically because you are working in the talent acquisition very closely. So what do you look for in a candidate? So what would a candidate do to, say that I'm not part of the crowd to you?
So it's very nuanced, first things foremost. It's first and foremost important to understand the role that you're applying to first. There will always be some things which are must-haves and criticals, and there will always be some which are additional, right? And an understanding of what the role entails will help you layer on the additional stuff. So if it says that you should have 15 years of IT implementation as a must-have, then the company will not hire someone who has 8 years of IT implementation. So be realistic about that, right? That's one thing. The second thing is that once you feel that yes, you bring the skills that they are looking for, try and read through the company and follow the people also to then understand what is it that they're trying to solve for, right? So if it is, for example, it's a product management role and you are currently a developer, right? Now, if you want to move from being a developer into a product manager, what they look for is what else have you done beyond coding? And hence, even though you should definitely say that, yes, I have done coding and this, but you should in your conversation, resume, covering letter, also bring forth how did you add value to other things, right? Or did you do ideation, conception, driving things, program management in another role, right? So it is important to be able to showcase how closely you fit the role that they're looking for, because companies are in a rush. Recruiters have a lot of CVs coming to them. So to make an impact when you're applying to a job, it is important to be early into the foot in the door, right? So don't wait for 1 week to apply. When you're applying, make sure that your salient features are being highlighted to what that role is, not a generic CV. And of course, also, if you know who the job poster is, it is important to connect to that job poster through LinkedIn or otherwise, or if you know someone in the company, it's better to send a referral, because that makes sure that you get heard and seen more than just a CV on the job. Does that answer the question that you were asking?
Yes, thank you so much, Sava. That makes sense. Rajan, your thoughts?
My thoughts on this are from once you got in the company, not once you're applying. There are three things. Work harder, no rocket science there, but work harder than anybody else. Sacrifice more. You will, the people who are able to set themselves apart are the ones who are able to pick up the jobs and say, hey, I'm willing to do it. And third, it's all relative. You can be ahead 1 year, the second year, somebody else will catch up. So you got to be at it every day. You cannot say, oh, I have become a high performer or I've become a great guy. And, companies should always recognize me or keep me there.
Every day, all day.
Yeah, all the years, right? So excuse me, give me a second.
Yeah, please. So while Rajan comes back, Sabha, I will just put out this question. This is very specific. Hi, Rajan. Thank you.
Yeah. So
I know you're not feeling well, I know. And with the cold and the wave going on. Please, can you continue?
That's okay. Besides this, I was going to say there are three more things. Set big goals for yourself. When you're in an organization, set goals which others are not able to set. The funny thing about big goals is that we then strive to give more. The second is you need to know which competencies. Now, competencies is a little bit of a technical word, but forget about that. What behaviors is your organization looking for from you? And work on those behaviors. Make sure that when your manager is going to evaluate you, you come out nice on those behaviors. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, maybe looking like to you something which people hate to do, but it's the only thing which sets people apart, which is how do they connect with other people, which is networking. How good are you at networking? If you are working in A department, who do you know in department B, C, D, E? How can you get your work done from them? And not only that, outside of your company, who do you know? Your ability to connect with people has been proven as one of the most important aspects for anybody to be a high performer, and not only a high performer, ability, he or she being successful over a period of time.
So again, we come back to people skills, connecting with people, knowing what you know is important, but knowing who you know is also important. And this is like in a positive way.
Yeah.
And don't forget that you've got to work harder than others.
Of course.
And of course, when you're connecting with people, speak content. You should be speaking from content, not facts, right?
Yes.
So that's a given. So, don't bullshit about things.
The gas would only take you so far.
Yeah. So you should know the content or better to stay quiet.
Right. So if I can just link this to a learning bit a little. At FutureSkills Prime, we are trying to tell people that you have to keep learning all the time. It's not only for students. It's not only for, somebody who's just begun their career. So what is your take on it? Do you think learning only in my field is important? Or like you said, Rajan, that you have to diversify it. There's a breadth as well as, depth. So and Sabha, to you, my question would be, is learnability a skill which is valued? Sabha, would you like to start?
Short answer is yes. And a bit more deeper answer is, and I hope people in the audience do try and read up a bit more, but there's a fixed mindset, there's a growth mindset, right? The growth mindset essentially relies on the fact that, okay, there can be something more, I can learn more, So learning is, there are many aspects, but within the growth mindset, learning is a one big thing. And learning may be structured or unstructured. It's on the job. It's as simple as, okay, I was copied on an email by someone and I liked how the tone came through. What is it that I can pick up and inculcate in my email writing to make it a professional writing? The person I'm writing to may be my best friend, but I'm writing an official email. So I should not be writing in, language I use on WhatsApp. So certain things like that. Or also when you get an opportunity, right? There's something new implementation being done or some new, so for example, surveys were being rolled out. So how can I do this better? Can I Google up stuff, learn stuff, implement it? Officially, the company may be going with a survey tool and they may train you on, say, like a Qualtrics on an online survey. But then once you've been trained, how deeper are you going into that, product, or you've been given ITIL training by your company, or you've just done a course on Java, even though right now you don't have anything to do with Java, but it'll come useful next time. So one thing very interesting about my career is, even though I built my career in HR, I think statistics is the one subject of my childhood which I've used forever, right? Whether it was when I was managing a team and I had to look at analytics, or later on when I look at my own analytics of my own work. So you don't know where learning will get implemented. And of course, you should also constantly keep learning. So while in my marketing stint, I had learned to do paper surveys. At LinkedIn, we had to do surveys at scale. Very simple survey. Ask the candidate, how was their experience about the interview? But when you're doing it globally and massively at scale, it involved a lot of data integration. So we had to go to a tool, and that tool had to take information from our HR system, which then had to trigger off to the right person. The tool had to be able to identify who to send reminders to, not to send reminders to.
So right? emerging tech in HR.
Yeah. So when the responses came through, that responses had to come to a data warehouse, which also had information coming from the HR system to the data warehouse. So then we could analyze it, and then how do I present it? And we use Tableau to present it. So I'm nowhere
a
computer person, but I've had to understand and learn Qualtrics, Tableau, how data warehouse works, what are the limitations of Workday when information is being sent, and what are the fields available. So it's continuous learning, and you never know where things will click. So take every opportunity as a learning opportunity.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Sabha. Rajan, I was asking about the importance of depth as well as the width of learnability. I mean, should I learn definitely what I'm doing right now, go deep into it? Or should I also pick up, small little things like foundation of something, a little bit of emerging tech here, a little bit of something there, which like Sabha mentioned, even in HR, she was able to use statistics and her, ability to understand it.
Absolutely, 100% agreed with Sabha on that. Learning is going to be forever if you're going to be in a corporate career. Even if you're not in a corporate career, learning always remains. You can learn from all kinds of things, including from children at home, elders at home. And you'll be surprised that, as Sabha was saying, those are small bits you need to keep on incorporating in your behavior, whatever you want to pick up from the various interactions you're having. Or if your company is nominating you for a program, I've seen many people think of it as 2-day break and come there to mark their attendance. But those are some important aspects. If your company is investing in you, please do learn from it. And especially if you're young, be like a sponge, keep on absorbing. And then once you kept on absorbing, you see how are you going to implement it in the job you're doing today or for tomorrow. For example, I still have many people who come to me saying, Rajan, you kind of told us this in this training program 15 years ago. We did not realize it then, but now I'm applying it. So if the person has absorbed it and he or she remembers it, it will come in handy somewhere, somehow. It may not be at that point in time. So to my mind, besides, as I said, your ability to work with people, yes, learning remains number 2 or number 3 aspects of building a career for yourself and becoming successful in the corporate world.
And I'll just add to it, because I just saw one question from Abhilash Mishra, which says, which career options do the experts think will take over the entire industry, both hardware and software, in the next 30-40 years? So I don't think any one of us can look into the crystal ball, but when you're building purposeful careers, do have some career paths, especially if you're talking about the IT industry. So for example, when companies had to look at their current bench and see that, okay, suddenly they had a new project for cloud from a client, right? And they were unable to hire as many people from outside. So when they looked inside, okay, who do we have our current employees who are on bench? They looked more closely at people who knew Java, because it's easier for Java, people who know Java to understand the cloud technologies because they're already somewhat familiar with stuff. And similarly, sometimes it's important to go deep. And so even though mainframes is not a very hot topic, even today, the talent for mainframes is so limited that they get paid very highly. It is not sexy. It is not a very exciting job, but it is a critical job, working on mainframes and mainframe technologies and legacy technologies. And because of the demand supply, today they are paid highly. So learning is also about, within your domain, continue to upskill yourself in technologies which are coming up. That's my additional 2 bits.
Thank you so much, Sabha. So I have a question here. It's quite a little specific. I don't know if it will work right now. I am a non-STEM professional, but these days I see everybody going gaga over tech skills and learning technologies, AI and IoT. Since these technologies are not useful to me currently, do you think learning about them would help me in future somehow? I think this is answered in some way before, that you don't know what will help you. But would you like to answer this in short? I know you have done in some part before. Rajan?
Yeah, sure. So in my mind, the basics of this you must understand, because that's what will stand you apart. So if there are 2 people who are non-STEM, let's say you're a healthcare professional, and both of you are now due for promotion. Someone who understands technology versus someone who doesn't understand technology. And the next job involves understanding technology a bit. So this person who's already taken this course, who can talk about it, understand it, and as Sabha was saying, maybe use some of the tools, will stand a better chance to grow in the organization versus a person who's not. And there is no doubt in my mind, if you are not able to understand data and how to work with data, now whether you call it AI, which is very different from data. But some of the basic things of, as Saba was saying, your ability to understand stats has to be there. If you want to grow, if you don't want to grow, if you want to remain where you are, that's fine. That's okay. You don't need to learn. But if you have aspirations and you want to grow, then some of those things will definitely be needed. So my suggestion to you would be that please do learn those, rather than saying, I'm not in that field and hence it may not be useful.
Right, that's perfect. In fact, we have taking your example you just mentioned, we have questions that I'm an engineering graduate working in healthcare organization, like you said, must have taken a job first come first, whichever, for past 1 year. But now I want to change to a pure tech organization. Should I highlight my experience even if it is not relevant for the job I aspire for?
The question is to me?
Yes. Yes, both of you.
Sava,
you let me know how would you judge a person?
So first and foremost, you should definitely talk about the work and experience that you have. So it's not like you will suddenly say, okay, 3 years I was not working, right? No, so you would still say that, okay, this is the healthcare company I was working with. This is my job. But within the job, if you can also highlight what are the various technologies you worked in. It may be that you were on the building desk, but you were using, I don't know, maybe SAP systems, right? So you should be able to highlight that. Or if you were doing basic level IT in the healthcare organization, but again, taking care of IT, and now you want to go to a core IT company, it is important to highlight what initiatives you took, what projects you did, what enhancements, improvements you did, be able to quantify that, okay, by doing this, we were able to reduce this to this or increase this to this. So what was the impact of that improvement you did? Even though it may not have been like a hard coding software program, but if you have that bent of mind to look at the problem, look at a solution, give it a technological solution, maybe, those will still help.
Okay, thank you so much. This one's for you, Rajan. I'm an engineering graduate from Indore. What can I do to reach top tech organizations in India? So this is a variety of questions like this come from students from tier 2, tier 3 cities. They somehow feel they do not have equal opportunity to reach organizations they want to work for. How can they reach those people? How can they highlight themselves? What can they do to bring themselves to the fore if the colleges are don't have that degree of placements directly?
Sure. Actually, it should be directed to Saba, because she said she started a career in Bhopal and then obviously worked her way where she was a prime candidate. She had 2 jobs offer, one from LinkedIn and Google. So maybe Saba should
yes,
share.
Saba, if you please.
Yeah, sure. And it reflects also on what Rajan said, have big goals, right? So know that your career is a journey. Know that not everything is definitive. In fact, there's a LinkedIn study which says in your life, you'll have 5 careers. But at the same time, it is important to network. So even though I was in a smaller city, I studied in Indore, my first job was in Bhopal, but I stayed in touch with all my friends. I used to read up a lot. At that time, I was very involved in finance. So Dhiren Kothari had just started his first write-up in Business Today, and he's the first one who started analyzing mutual funds. I followed him and I would write in my queries. So don't be shy, right? So, and with the kind of access we have today, you can go online, maybe slightly old 2018, but there is a free recording of the computer science course of Stanford available, right? You don't need to be in Stanford in US to access it. It's entire lectures have been recorded. There are 21 videos. You can self-learn, right? And then of course, the thing is to to show what are you doing with your learning and implementing. And so whatever small ideas you have, you should try and build them, even if it's for fun. So it's the technology and your thought process which you will showcase to your interviewer, right? So very, I don't know how relevant it is for people on this call, but I'm giving a very personal example. My nephew, when he was in college, was asked to create a project on computer science. So he created a project where he made a tool where if you say a word, right, the program would go into antonyms, look up antonyms and throw out the opposite word. And it's got no utility in life, right? But the interviewers liked that he had an original idea. He used technologies like speech to text and text to speech and was able to do this on his own. So when you're, even if you're in a small company, small city, have big dreams, work towards them, use whatever resources are available to you by way of networking, people, YouTube, Coursera, and continue on your FutureSkills, for sure, and especially because
free to access for all Indian citizens.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it's an app, right? So you don't need to be at your seat on your computer in your home and all, and that's a big important, and that's a very important thing that those bite-sized learnings I think are really great. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Sabha. So this one is specifically and especially for you, Rajan. Maybe Sabha can chime in also. But I have a very interesting question here in the Q&A from Ananthakrishnan Balasubramaniam. He's saying, can you please provide your suggestions on how individuals in the age of around 50, which I'm assuming is, they have already reached a certain stage in life, progress in their career? As the pyramid is smaller on the top, how can one maneuver this? And I would like to also understand, is it important always to keep finding, you said there are 5 careers one can have in their life. Is it important to grow to always do something new, or can I do something better in a different way? What can be the answer to this, Rajan?
Yeah, when you're 50 or thereabout, there are lots of things which will go through your mind. As Sabha earlier said, you should find a purpose. If you have a purpose, saying that this is the purpose I have, for example, if your purpose is to retire as the CEO of a company, let's say, for example, then find even a smaller company where you can become a CEO. Because once you become a CEO, the next job will be CEO. It will be a bigger job of a CEO. So it doesn't matter. It's like starting the jobs when you're in the 20s. Get your first job. So in this case, get your first job as a CEO. Then you can, build on becoming a CEO of a larger company. So that could be one idea. The other idea is that if you are in an organization where you've done a lot of stuff, if there is another job which opens up, for example, let's say you've always been in marketing, but there's a job which opens up in HR. Raise your hand and say, hey, I want to do that. So you will learn another skill. Once you've learned those 2 skills, you will be in a better position to become maybe a COO in the same organization or some other organization. So what happens is you've added to your portfolio of the jobs and the career which you've always been doing, and then it is difficult. It is not easy. There'll be lots of thoughts going in your mind, whether I should do it, will I lose what I've always been doing, etc., etc. But as I said, come back from your purpose. What's your purpose? And once you've figured that out, then you can say, what do I want to do? And then maneuver yourself. And yes, it is very difficult as compared to a 25-year-old to get a new job at 50. But once you've got that done, you know what your purpose is, you can walk backwards from there and then start working towards making that happen, because you still have now, if we are all going to live maybe 80 years or 85 years, you still are going to be, at least 10 to 15 years of career job, of your job or your career is
productive life.
Yeah, productive life is still left. So if you have 15 more years to go, it's a lot of time. So you better find the purpose and then get along with it.
Thank you so much for that, Rajan. Sabha, any thoughts on this?
I think Rajan's answered it perfectly, and really nothing much to add. Purpose, yeah.
Okay, so that's great. Another interesting question is that, is it okay to switch careers? Because this is what I thought next, is that people find it a little risky. This person also is saying, my family thinks it's too risky and I should be looking to achieve stability in my career and not jump on a roller coaster. So how do you gauge that it is okay for one person to change a career, change a line, and it is maybe not so great for another person? Is that some parameters that some questions I can ask myself before I decide to take that leap? So I'll ask Sabha this one first.
There's no straight answer for it, because risk-taking abilities, family situations, boundary conditions drive a lot of what's happening in our careers as well. So if you have dependent parents, dependent kids, they will have, and if you do need a certain money inflow, you have to go with that. So it is important to first be realistic about your boundary conditions. If you are still keen on taking a risk, and if you are suppose mid-career, make sure you have a nest egg which can take you forward before you jump into a risk. Try, before completely switching off from one to another, test it out, right? So design thinking principles, right? You should test it out in small ways and small methods. Can you do the same thing? Suppose if you want to get into, I don't know, you're maybe a marketing person and you're thinking of digital advertising. So do a course on Google Ads and test it out on your own campaigns in your company before you completely jump your line into digital marketing rather than core marketing or trade marketing. Similarly, if you have to do a more radical jump, like being an entrepreneur, then it is important that you use your weekends to build your plan, business. Have some people who are working within the ethical boundaries of your employment contract, but see if you can do that, and then of course take those risks. I would, and one thing when it comes to, if you're just thinking about changing jobs, one risk I would never advise is don't leave a job till you have another job in hand. And it doesn't matter whether you're a 2-year-old experienced person or a 50-year-old experienced person. If you're thinking of moving jobs, first get a job in hand and then resign. But of course, skill yourself in your time. We still have weekends, even if our weekdays are full of our work. Take out that and maybe, watch things which are related to the domain you want to be in. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, watch Shark Tank. I don't know. If you want to be a chef, watch MasterChef. But content and everything should be aligned with what you input in your free time also will help.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Sabha. Rajan, your thoughts? So it's like fly free or keep a security net even with wild flying?
No, I agree with Sabha that you need to have a job in hand before you resign in the first place. So being a risk taker versus being foolish are two different things. So, you can be a risk taker, but don't be foolish. And build a second line, whatever, whether it is a career, if you want to be an entrepreneur, as Sabha said, test it out on the weekends. If you want to change your line completely, first understand what is the other line you want to get into a bit more, and ask enough people what it looks like and try your hand at it, as you were saying, maybe at weekends, or do a gig job on it. So you will understand, how that works before you say, hey, this is what I want to jump into. So 100% agreed with Sabha on don't be foolish, be a risk taker, but don't be foolish.
Great. Thank you so much. I have a very interesting question from Pony J here in the Q&A section. Sabha, this one's for you. How to make an impact in a job if we have a resume gap? Now, this is true for quite a few of our women learners who have joined FutureSkills Prime and they want to restart their careers. But now they have learned something, they want to come back. That's amazing, that's great. But how to make that gap seem something as a thing of growth and not something which is holding us back? How can one present that better?
I think we have Indian corporates have evolved a lot over the years. I don't think women are, or anyone for that matter, is judged negatively for career breaks, which have had a genuine reason, right? Like, so I think people are sympathetic that we have all gone through situations, whether it's COVID or family situations, and where we've had to take a career break. However, career break doesn't mean you stop living. And people talk to me about work-life balance, and I always say it's work-life integration. So when you're working, you're still living, and when you're living also, you should be doing something towards your working. So if you are, for example, in the CA field and you've taken a break, suppose you're in the finance field and you've taken a break, can you continue to be active in your CS, whatever, charter or alumni, and join the sessions they have, 1 or 2 hour sessions they have on whatever are the new developments which are happening? Or if you're in the IT world, definitely, FutureSkills, very, very, very valid option. Skill yourself, but then use that as a small project also, like implement it. It should not be theoretical. So if you've done some project on, web designing, then design your own website so that you can showcase it to the employer that you're employing at. And then, of course, like I said, when it comes to designing impactful career, identify your target companies also. So there are companies which proactively give breaks, whether it's companies like Accenture or IBM, and there's a lot of others. So no single endorsement or nothing against other companies, but they have special cells within their recruiting team to help people come back from a break, or diversity hiring, people with special abilities, and so on and so forth. So do your research about, okay, what only do I bring? But same thing what we spoke at the beginning on career design, right? Identify your target organizations, connect with people over there, identify the right roles and apply over there. But yeah, even if you're taking a career break, you should not stop learning.
Thank you so much for that, both of you, Sava and Rajan. This has been great, but I will just bother you for one last question that we have. We received most of these questions from our social media campaign. We have through direct messages. So I hope everybody has got the answers. So the question is, how does problem solving help at work? And business relationship, and is it really a must-have skill? Because what we are seeing right now in FutureSkills also, we have a lot of courses on soft skills as problem solving, team building, and there is a perception that this is something people can either pick up on their own or something they have inherent. But is that something which can be learned? So Rajan, may I ask you to answer this? Is this something that which can be learned and worked towards?
Absolutely. Problem solving is a skill you learn. There are 7 QC tools. There are various aspects. You learn problem solving. It is not an inherent thing you may be having. And it will come in handy. I learned problem solving way back in 1995. I was an HR guy, but there were certain skills which we were taught. It doesn't matter which function you are in. And one of them was problem solving. And I think it has stood us in very good light. And there are some very simple tools to look at data, analyze data, and solve for problems. So if you are getting a course which is there, whether it's on Future Prime or your organization is sponsoring it, grab it with both the hands. It'll be a very, very, very important course for you in the future.
Thank you so much, Rajan. Thank you once again. Sabha, any last thoughts you would like to share with us?
I think this has been just a wonderful session, and I myself have learned a lot from what Rajan has shared also. Interesting questions also from people. So really all the very best. I welcome you all to connect with me on LinkedIn if you would like to. But I feel that, when we were young, we had to pay out of our noses to join coaching centers to learn C basic and all those things, right? And if the government has, and NASCOM is the, of course, entity which is leading this. So if there is option available for free learning, please grab it with both hands. And to Rajan's point on problem solving, everybody, including your boss, will say, what's the problem before they answer any question. So yeah. I think make the most of the opportunities available and the time available.
Thank you so much, Sabha. Thank you so much, Rajan. Rajan, any thoughts you would like to share with us? Last thoughts?
Yeah, I think we should all make sure that whatever is being shared with us from the perspective of the government sharing it, NASCOM sharing it, to upgrade our skills, we must utilize that facility given to us and make sure that we are on a continuous learning path always. So all the best to all the participants who are there, and thank you, Amit.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody who's joined us on LinkedIn Live as well as on YouTube. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.